And that ball is stroked. Gone! Oh my goodness, on a frozen rope. Throw in there on one hop. Out! Oh, he hosed him. Hop steps, great dump off, and a two-hand jam.
And we're still out here bringing you episode 19 of White Noise Sports. Still sitting down with Hunter Myers, and it's about time to talk about power. I think the whole power ranking phenomenon kind of started in anime or something like that. You ever watch Dragon Ball?
I have not. No.
That's a shame. In any case, we're going to get into MLB power rankings that we all know and love. How about that?
Sounds good to me. Let's get to it.
All right. My number one team at the All-Star break, the Philadelphia Phillies. This is easy.
Are you talking about the Phillies with the most All-Stars in the game with 8?
Bonkers, is it not?
It's absurd.
To start 3 guys in the infield, to have 5 pitchers, multiple starting pitchers, it doesn't even make any sense. And everyone else, they've got other guys in the lineup that certainly could have earned it too.
They certainly could have. No, this is a great team. They definitely deserve the one spot. They're sitting at, 62 wins at the break?
Yeah, could go over 100. That's our number one spot, and very much in agreement here. Number 2, I have the Baltimore Orioles.
I do have to agree with the Orioles. That young talent is taking over the city of Baltimore and done some very phenomenal things out on the ball field.
Everybody's young there. They have ridiculous power. I mean, you want to talk about a 1 through 9 in the lineup where absolutely everybody can hit one out. That's what they have. And they have candidates for all the major awards everywhere, I think.
Yeah, all across the field. They have Rookie of the Year candidates, Cy Young, MVPs.
And that's even with sending Jackson Holliday down, right? Who was, I believe, the number 1 overall prospect in baseball. Didn't work out for the short time that he was up in the major leagues, but he's going to be back at some point.
He will be, certainly.
Number 3 team, I have the Cleveland Guardians. Barf in my mouth, being a Tigers fan, AL Central, it hurts me. But seriously, they're 26th in payroll, and we mentioned it in the first episode, the straight money ball approach.
They're doing the right thing down there in Cleveland. Stephen Vogel's got the boys rolling right now. They just got the number 1 pick, and they're 3rd overall on our list. Absurd.
Yeah, you've got Jose Ramirez, an MVP candidate, insofar as there is another candidate besides Aaron Judge in the American League, but he's been one of the absolute best. Stephen Kwan hitting something like 360. That's just stupid.
Yeah. Jose Ramirez put on a nice little show last night at the home run derby.
Yeah, he
Finished
did.
4th?
I believe he did.
Yeah.
And made that first cut. We didn't really get to talk too much about the home run derby, but of course, Teoscar Hernandez from the Dodgers just edging out Alec Boehm in that final. 2 guys that maybe you didn't think were going to get there, but hey, great show as always.
Hey, they outlasted the fatigue, and I don't know about you, but I could definitely tell that the fatigue got to them both in that 3rd round. They looked tired.
Yeah, and it's going to happen. Everybody knows that it's a different level of ferocity to that swing. Hey, Pete Alonso got out first round, and he got smoked.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the shocker of the night.
Yeah, what was he, the odds leader last night?
Yeah, I think he was going in and just did not perform. So, speaking of the Dodgers, I've got them coming in at number 4. I think Ohtani wins MVP easily in the NL, and even if Mookie Betts had never been hurt, well, they still would probably have the MVP because he was leading the world in everything before he broke that hand, and they might be the most balanced team in baseball.
Oh, they certainly are. Now, defensively on the mound and up at the plate, they are by far one of the better teams in baseball. Definitely top 5. I do have them at the 5 spot.
Okay.
We might be flip-flopping. We'll see what you have at 5.
I bet you we are. Entirely possible.
Yeah.
Of course, the Dodgers need Clayton Kershaw back, and he is getting close, I believe, rehabbing right now.
That would be helpful, but Walker Buehler is holding down while he's gone.
Now, my number 5, I would guess that we did flip-flop the 4 and 5, right? I have the Milwaukee Brewers. I said they are way ahead of schedule for kind of their rebuild, restructure into win right now mode. Might have a Manager of the Year candidate in Pat Murphy. By the way, Christian Yelich is another guy who is totally reborn, and he could be an MVP candidate.
He's getting there. He's certainly coming on the scene. Definitely had the Brewers at 4 for that reason. I think Pat Murphy's doing a great job as the manager down there. He's keeping things consistent, working through the bullpen, getting those guys loose, and timely pinch hitting options from him as well.
I move into number 6. And this team's been backsliding. They, at times, could have been number 1. But now I've got the Yankees.
New York's been doing very well, being held afloat by Judge and Soto so far.
Yeah, you
Judge
might have
is
heard
leading
of
the
those
league.
two guys.
Yeah, they're doing all the heavy lifting, I feel like, in New York, and it's helping them pay off. Top 10 on our list certainly goes to show. Aaron Judge leads the league in home runs, OPS, slugging, and RBIs.
Yeah, if it weren't for Stephen Kwan, he could really have a track on that Triple Crown.
Oh, he certainly could. Who do you have for 7?
I had the Seattle Mariners. This is a weird one because they cannot hit the ball, ? And yet it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Their starting pitching is that good anyway. It's a bizarre kind of strategy that they're employing, and it works.
Yeah, no, Seattle is definitely one of the better teams, certainly the best team in the AL West, I think, which is why they're leading the Astros by 1 game right now. They're hanging out, and I think that with them in first place in the AL West, I definitely can see them in the top 10.
The weird thing about the record a little bit, 52-46, it does not jump off the page. They don't play well away from home. They're 22-28 on the road, but I think they're going to be able to keep Houston at bay. I think they're going to keep winning ball games because starting pitching's that good.
Yeah, I'm with you. They just need to learn how to win on the road. 30-18 at home, so they have no problem at, T-Mobile Ballpark?
Yeah, I believe it is now.
Yeah.
Was that your 6 and 7 as well, was Yankees Mariners?
Yes. Who do you have at 8?
Another one that pains me to say, the Kansas City Royals.
Wow.
Because the AL Central is such a good division, everybody can beat everybody within there. Of course, there's one team who cannot beat anyone that, as you imagine, we'll get to at the very end.
Right.
But every other team, good, and the Royals with a lot of big bats. Bobby Witt, MVP candidate right now, you have to say. He also had a pretty decent showing in the home run derby.
Yeah. 3rd place last night. Not too bad for him. I was kind of rooting for him if I had to pick someone. Well, you're putting the Royals above the Twins.
Indeed,
I
am.
The Royals are 2.5 games back from the Twins in the AL Central right now. All right.
The record just doesn't tell you everything about a power rankings, right? For example, we've seen teams who really underachieve with loaded rosters. The Red Sox have been guilty of that many a time in the 2000s. The Yankees at times as well.
Yeah.
Even with Jeter, sometimes the Yankees, underperformed. And I think this Royals team's going to have sticking power. They got tons of veterans. That type of presence never hurts.
I did have the Red Sox at the 8th spot.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
4.5 in the AL East, and they're finding ways to hang around with hanging 11 shutouts on their opponents over the course of the season. I think Boston's primed to make a run here soon.
They absolutely could. Of course, they're always going to be dangerous on offense, and their payroll's going to be big.
Right.
Tanner Houck, if somebody else in the AL were to win the Cy Young, he's not a bad pick.
I agree with you there.
He's kind of a different style from Skubal, though, where Skubal is the dominate everybody, strike everybody out style, and Houck is, gets ground balls, turns double plays, and more efficient with the pitches. He's a very, very solid starter.
Yeah, he definitely keeps batters off balance when he takes the mound, and it's helping Boston win ball games.
So I will get to the Red Sox a little bit later. We're not too far apart on that, but a couple spaces. At 9, I had the Twins because I do see them and the Royals being pretty similar. The Twins are just really good in the clutch. They're another team that's got good balance. They had a couple of all-stars. Carlos Correa, after one down year with injuries and just not playing as well last year, now really back. Alex Kirilloff. They've got other young bats to like, and they score a lot of runs.
Yeah. Okay, so at 9, I had the Mariners, and we already talked about what they can do up there in Seattle on the ball field. So who do you have for 10?
Number 10, Atlanta Braves. The difficulty with the Braves is no Ronald Acuna, right, reigning MVP, and no Spencer Strider, who is one of the most disgusting starting pitchers the league has ever seen.
Yes.
And without both of those guys, I don't think that they have any real postseason aspirations. They might get there, but I don't think they're going to do anything without those two absolute superstars.
I'm with you. I had Strider as my AL MVP or AL Cy Young winner at the beginning of the season, but obviously that can't come to fruition anymore. So, yeah, he is disgusting. I think the Braves deserve a nice little 10 spot there. Keep them in the top 10, but also they can move up or down. They're pretty fluid, I think.
as we're out of the top 10 now. This is where I had the Boston Red Sox. I thought that they were strongly underperforming in their division, which, by the way, very, very good division. And so against tough teams, when you have some struggles, it's easy to fall back in the division because you're playing the Yankees a whole bunch. You know, you're playing, even the Tampa Bay Rays aren't a bad ball club. You have probably 20-plus games against the Orioles in a season. If you split those, even that could put you behind.
Yeah. At number 11, I had the Twins.
Okay.
Mediocre ball club, top F for sure. I think 6-4 in the last 10 is going to help them out. I think they keep that momentum rolling. They might give Cleveland a shot at the top of the AL Central.
And any of those top three teams probably could win it, right? I admit the Tigers are most likely out of the running for winning that division, but maybe if things go well in the second half, for one, you expect a wild card team to come from that division.
Yes.
And for two, somebody else could win it.
100%.
Okay. Now, for the dozenth best team, if you will, I have the San Diego Padres. They've got all of their big names finally on the field, healthy together. Xander Bogaerts, Mandy Machado. Jurickson Profar is one of the absolute most awesome stories this year, right? This guy, drafted in 2009, I believe, and is an All-Star for the first time and starts the All-Star game this year. That's so cool to me.
Yeah, I have to agree. That is a great story. And I also have to agree that I have the Padres in the 12 slot.
Man, I think we nailed it then. Number 13, St. Louis Cardinals. Is their window closing? I say absolutely. Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, those guys are going to have to move on or retire pretty soon, right? Both 33 or older, and that core is already sort of waning when you had Adam Wainwright as well as Yadier Molina last couple of years, who are now gone.
What a tandem they had down there in St. Louis for a while, huh?
Oh, absolutely. And almost every guy that I mentioned there could end up being a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. I did have the Cardinals at number 13 as well. One thing that jumps out to me with them, though, the Cincinnati Reds have a plus 38 run differential, and they're in fourth place in the NL Central. The St. Louis Cardinals have a minus 38 run differential, and they're in second place in the NL Central.
Yeah, to find anybody with the negative run differential who is above 500, rare.
Yes.
And hard to explain sometimes. Now, point to the starting pitching staff, and they can keep you afloat in there when you're not scoring as many runs. It can be a product of just massive blowouts once in a while. But, yeah, kind of a bizarre stat there.
Yeah. I guess they're getting blown out more than they're blowing teams out.
Right. At 14, I'm happy to say that they're sliding down the list because, well, we'll always hate them. The Houston Astros. They still have the best average in the league. You know that they're going to score runs. They have stars. I'd like to say they're still probably cheating, and so they just deserve to be in baseball purgatory. I'm not saying it's true, but, once a cheater, always a cheater kind of thing, right?
It's fun to speculate it.
Of course.
Yeah, I have the Astros at number 14 as well. They just know how to win down there in Houston.
Now we're exactly in the middle of the pack here, and I think that's a really good spot for this next team, the New York Mets. You know that they're the oldest team in the MLB, and that's after unloading Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander? That's absolutely shocking to me. And, of course, they're still paying some of those guys dead money. They do have good ball players still, right? J.D. Martinez is still there. Pete Alonso, the polar bear, never going to not be a good player. But very, very mid. The definition of mid this year, in fact.
I do have to agree. The Mets at 15 makes sense to me. And, yeah, the oldest team in baseball.
So how much better do you really think that they're going to get in the second half? Probably not at all.
Yeah. No, I don't really see them. I think 15 by the end of the season would be a miracle for them to attain. Yeah. I see them sliding slowly but surely downhill from here.
All right. Now, if you thought the Mets were average, have you seen the Tampa Bay Rays this year? They have a lot of good players in a lot of positions, in my opinion, right? They had one All-Star, that's Isaac Paredes, former Tigers prospect, if you'll recall. And they're 500 on the road, 500 at home, and 500 overall. It's almost shocking, the perfect symmetry there.
Wow. Yeah, they are definitely an average team. The only two players that come to mind is, Isaac Paredes and Randy Rosarina, because they're the two that hit the most bombs. Jose Siri's up there with 12 with the Rosarina as well. Basic Average, Tampa Bay Rays.
And not household names by pretty much any means. That'll hold you back a little bit, having that lack of star power.
It certainly will.
Do you know what team has some star power emerging now, but everywhere else is underperforming? The Pittsburgh Pirates.
I like them at 17.
Yeah, that's 17 for me as well. Paul Skeens and Jared Jones, two spectacular rookie starting pitchers, right? Beyond that, who do you like about the Pirates? I mean, Andrew McCutchen is, 37, 38, on his way out. They brought him back for sort of the farewell tour. O'Neal Cruz underperforming. I don't know what else there is to like about the Pirates, but Paul Skeens is amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Paul Skeens, lighting the world on fire right now, 6-0. He's doing the thing. And then, like you said, O'Neal Cruz, Brian Reynolds, holding it down in the average department. Other than that, I don't think they have anybody above a 284 average.
Any other stats that jump out at you with the Pirates, or they're just, like the last couple of teams, are just a little too mid?
A little too mid. 500 at the break, 48 and 48.
Yep.
Take it for what it is.
So moving on to number 18, I have the Cincinnati Reds. I have them identified as probably the most volatile, mercurial baseball team, if you will. So the reason why I say they're so volatile, right? Think of their star, Ellie De La Cruz, and the way that he lights that fire. But when he's not going, and, Jonathan India can't get the bat going, they're going to be in trouble on offense.
Yeah, certainly. Like you said, I think the Reds are one of the most fluid teams on this list.
Would you be surprised, for example, if they got really hot and moved up to 10th? No.
I would not be surprised by that at all.
But you could see them slide and go back to 25th in a week, too.
Yes,
It all depends on how you come out of the break, don't you think?
I do believe so. I think Ellie De La Cruz needs to stay hot with the stick. Hunter Green needs to keep striking out all those batters. 126 over 110 innings. It's a pretty good low rate he's got going on there.
Yeah, he's tough.
47 and 50, fourth in the NL Central so far. Not much else to say about him. We'll see what the rest of the season holds for him.
As we move on to number 19 now, I had the San Francisco Giants. If you want to talk about zero household names, now you could say Mike Yastrzemski, the last name, right, rings a bell. But literally, Taylor and Tyler Rogers are two of their best players. And most people probably have no idea who those two are. But that's the thing with them. They don't really have any stars. Jung-Hoo Lee looked like he was going to come out and be an everyday, very good center fielder. And then, of course, was promptly injured, and his season's over.
Yeah, no stars on the Giants with Matt Chapman leading the batting average department, 235 average.
Oh, that is foul.
I don't even know if he's batting his weight right now, and he's leading the team.
Yes, that is a big problem.
Yes, San Francisco, I guess, is doing it on the defensive side of the ball. But I had the Arizona Diamondbacks at number 19.
Oh, you did?
I put them there because they are 9-2 before the break. So they're definitely ending on a high note. They're in second place in the NL West.
Boy, that is a bit surprising. From a team that you've heard very, very little about this year.
Yeah, because there's a lack of star power, but they're still finding a way to win games.
I did think that they were in sort of that World Series hangover, right, from having gone last year and then kind of getting smacked around by the Rangers and still being young for the most part. Corbin Carroll has been one of the bigger disappointments after the Rookie of the Year season, in which he was something else. He was special.
Yeah, I pegged Corbin Carroll as a early season MVP candidate.
Oh,
that
hurts.
After the postseason run, the postseason tear he went on last year.
Yeah.
But that has not quite come to fruition.
No, not at all.
And speaking of things that don't come quite to fruition, you have the Chicago Cubs in the 21 slot.
I do, yes. With Diamondbacks at 20, so that's Giants, Diamondbacks. We had flipped those, but very similar. Yes, number 21, Chicago Cubs. They are the jacks of all trades, but of course, they have mastered none of them.
Yes, I do have to agree. With the batting average again, the leader of the team, Michael Busch, sitting at a 271 so far this season. And the team overall is sitting at 47.51, last place in the NL Central. Things aren't looking great with all the star power that they were assumed to have had on the team. Nico Horner, Ian Happ, Cody Bellinger, Dansby Swanson. What's going on in Chicago?
The names, right? You say that lineup and you write out the probables on paper. You say, this should be a good ball club. You bring in Craig Counsell, who's sort of one of the top tier managers, right? And did a lot of great work with the Brewers. He gets to face the Brewers all the time now, a team that he should know everything about, and they're not getting it done.
They're definitely not taking care of business down there in Chicago, and I don't know, unless they can get it figured out, I think they stay in the 20s the rest of the year.
And we haven't gotten to talk much about the trade deadline, but the bottom of the list here, they're going to really need to think a lot about it because all of those teams are going to be sellers, right?
Yes.
The Cubs have to sell at the deadline, I think you would say.
I believe they do. I believe they have to get off one of those big names to try and bring in somebody who's maybe more of an up-and-coming star.
That's going to take care of the Cubs. At 22, speaking of the deadline and teams that really need to be aware of it, teams that will probably make moves, Detroit Tigers. If a couple of plays per game go another way, and I don't like to be this guy, but they could easily be over 50 wins. They have too many good young players still under team control. They have the presumptive Cy Young. They have Riley Green, who's an all-star and can do everything. Lots of other good players in their core. Think Reese Olson. But they're going to have to sell a bunch of veterans at the deadline, don't you think?
I think they do have to get rid of some of the veterans on their roster, but there is a ton of upside with these Detroit Tigers. I think we've seen it the last 2 games for sure against LA, one of the best teams in baseball. They take 2 from them. I think if a few more plays go their way, they're over 50 wins.
They played well against the Yankees. They had that series against the Reds before the break. And, of course, that Dodgers series is the most emblematic of what they do this year. Their starting pitching is good. Their clutch hitting is borderline incredible.
Yeah.
Especially in 7th, 8th, 9th inning.
Yeah, they really turn that clutch power on in the late innings and get those wins. I like one thing from the Tigers is that they moved Kenta Maeda to the bullpen in that Dodgers series. Came in on Sunday, carved up the Dodgers to hold them at 3. Stayed there till the end when they fell 4-3 to the Detroit Tigers.
That was huge. So Kenta Maeda, of course, came in the 5th starter, but I never really saw an argument for anybody else as the worst starting pitcher in baseball. I believe Kyle Hendricks technically, by the numbers, had a slightly worse ERA, but by the eye test, Kenta Maeda could not get anyone out this year and was just completely ineffective.
Not in the starter role.
Yeah. Now
out
you
of the
let
bullpen.
him, and you saw his velocity ticked up a little bit. Started bringing that fastball in, 91, 92. That's a big change for a guy who's, a career soft tosser.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think it's the aspect of coming in and throwing 2 or 3 innings instead of 5 or 6. I think he was kind of reserving himself in the starter role, and now he's kind of unleashing the beast, in a sense, in the bullpen relief role.
Now, knock on wood, hopefully you can hear that, but I would love to see that for the rest of the year and or move him at the deadline. Who knows?
Yeah. If they get value for him, I'm definitely not opposed to cutting ties and seeing what a fresh face might do for the organization.
Down to 23 now. I have the Washington Nationals. I warn everybody, they are not going to end up this spot next year, the couple years after that. I think they have a young and cheap rebuild that is not going to take very much time.
No, I'm certainly with you there. The rebuild's coming around. C.J. Abrams is starting to pay off. Jesse Winkler helping out in the field. They've got some pieces that are moving in the right direction. I just don't think that they're moving fast enough for Washington fans at this point in the season.
And, of course, they're going to have to sell as well.
Yes.
The retirement, of course, of Steven Strasburg. That hurts. That's a slap in the face. They're even still paying Max Scherzer, I believe, who is, by the way, a genius, and his agent should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
All right, so that's all on the Nats. We move to 24, Texas Rangers. Boy, you want to talk about a World Series hangover. This one hit them like a truck. Pretty disappointing for defending World Series champions. Maybe I wouldn't put them this low or be so harsh if not for that simple fact that they did win the World Series.
Yeah, this is quite the hangover. I thought early in the season they might be able to get back to the postseason, maybe repeat in the World Series appearances, but at this point I think all hope is lost for that, and they need to start to figure out what the next few years are going to look like for them in terms of shopping players and developing talent. 46-50, they're not out of it, but it's going to be a high hill to climb here.
And you have to sell first, right? That's the most difficult part for everybody just coming sort of back from the break and looking to the deadline is, well, what about my best couple of players that just left? That's the risk you run if you aren't good enough in the first half. And speaking of not good enough, guys underperforming, 5th in current payroll. That's even worse because it's going to take more money to get back to where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, going back to, I think we talked about Javi Baez and his contract, trying to shop that earlier. Teams are going to want to take that on, and they're certainly not going to want to take on some of these bigger contracts that the Rangers have acquired.
All right, 80% through power rankings here. We're just getting to the really not so good part. The Angels are next. No Trout, Ohtani, no bueno.
Yeah, you take Trout off that roster, the only bat I know is Taylor Ward. That's not a top half above average bat, if you ask me.
No, absolutely not. They've got one nice piece in Luis Rengifo. He's kind of that Luis Arias type where he's just bad on ball and he's not going to strike out. He's not going to walk. He's going to hit for decent average, but a singles hitter.
100%. Tyler Anderson, starting pitcher, coming in with a 2.97 ERA. Not bad.
No, that's quality.
Like that. That's a quality pitcher on the mound, but
as a whole rotation, not doing enough. Bullpen, average. What do you like about the Angels?
I like that they're probably going to have to shop Anderson to try and get a few more arms on the mound.
Yes, most likely. 26, Toronto Blue Jays. They are kind of an insult to a quality hitting approach. And I thought that of the Tigers until kind of the last few weeks before the break. Have you seen some of the offensive numbers from July so far and how they had the second best winning percentage so far in July? Vlad Guerrero Jr., a good bright spot, but pretty much the only bright spot on that team.
Yeah, statistically speaking, he leads his team in every batting category.
The Riley Green effect,
Yeah, felt that last year, all year long. And then Jose Barrios coming on the bump. 12 quality starts and 20 games pitched and 8 wins to show for it. So he's doing as much as he can with what he's got.
Now Vlad Guerrero playing on an arbitration contract, a huge one I might add right now, about $20 million a year. Team control fully ends, and in 26 he'll be a free agent. Do they shop Vlad at the deadline? You probably don't have a choice.
I would say they don't have a choice. He's their only offense.
Essentially, yeah.
And you got to let some other guys shine every once in a while. Try and get that off while you can. Try and get some good prospects for it. In the meantime, start the rebuild because that's where they're at currently.
27th. Now, we would not have thought, let's say, a couple of months ago that this team was going to end up even this high.
Right.
And it's unfortunate to say. At least they're not the White Sox, but it's the Oakland Athletics at 27th. The one thing they do well, they hit a lot of home runs.
Yeah, and the bullpen's got some flamethrowers in it. Even starting pitcher J.P. Sears, he's pretty serviceable so far this season. Mason Miller coming in with 15 saves.
Yeah, Mason Miller, a guy I even thought about putting as my current Rookie of the Year pick. He's pretty much untouchable. The fastball, 102 to 104. That's so scary.
Yeah.
That's all we have to say about Oakland. Not spectacular, but a little bit better than they were at the start of the year. 28th, third to last. Pretty accurate for the Colorado Rockies.
Worst team ERA? I mean, if you're not going to win on the mound, you're not going to win at all.
Yeah.
So this definitely adds up to put them down there at 28. What do you got for us?
They are close to some of the worst team ERAs ever. That's what I can tell you.
Ooh.
Of course, I did the research on it. So, in the live ball era, the absolute worst team ERAs of all time. One of them in 1930 with the Phillies. That's the all-time record is 6.71. And in 1996, believe it or not, actually way more recent, 6.38 was the 96 Tigers.
Wow.
Yikes. This team's probably out of reach, out of danger of getting that terrible, but my goodness, they're awful. Yes, the Coors effect, we've talked about it. It is difficult to keep the ball in the ballpark there, but they have not a single guy on the entire roster under a 4.0.
Yeah, that is scary. And you can certainly see when you look at the run differential, giving up 169 more runs to their opponents. That's, I think, the highest in the league. Nope. There will be one more on our list that we will get to.
Yes, that is a problem. We're now second to last, and this team terrible as well in so many ways. The Miami Marlins.
33 wins on the campaign so far, 63 losses, 152 run differential, so it's not them. If you're keeping track at home,
yes,
might be able to mark out who number 30 is with an incredibly bad run differential.
Yeah.
But for now, the Marlins are sitting in the third worst with 152.
So my complaints with the Marlins, see if you agree here. No power whatsoever.
Agreed.
Little speed, not a lot of stolen bases.
Correct.
Bad average, bad starting pitching. They never walk ever. Those are like all of the things that matter in a baseball game, I think.
There is nobody around a 1 WAR in their system. There's actually negative WARs for most of their lineup.
Do you think that they push 100 losses?
I think sitting over halfway there already at this point in the season, I could 100% see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just not a good ball team. Now, we've already scraped the bottom of the barrel. We're giving you the barrel itself in a team who probably won't be the worst team ever, but is going to have a chance to come really close. The 2024 Chicago White Sox are a travesty.
Absolute dumpster fire.
Yep.
71 losses to this day in July 16th, 177 run differential. What is going on in Chicago? I don't even know if you could tell me.
I don't know. I have seen teams fall from grace. I have seen teams stay bad for a long time. I usually just don't see the entire bottom fall out of an organization. And it's like no one cares? ?
Almost to that effect. It's not like they don't have some of the names. Andrew Benintendi was a great left fielder for the Red Sox a couple of years ago.
Benintendi, arguably the worst player in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
But he's got Martin Maldonado, who's keeping right up with him, the catcher there.
Yeah, and then Eloy Jimenez in the DH spot. He's not very serviceable. Luis Robert Jr., Martin Maldonado, like you said, Tommy Pham. I don't get how these names aren't helping win ball games in Chicago, but
the one guy, of course, who stands out, Garrett Crochet, is truly nasty. But when you are the only piece on one of the worst teams ever, you have to be shopped. Yeah. And there's a really good chance he gets moved for somebody that needs, like the Dodgers, right, to fill a stopgap until Clayton Kershaw comes back. Maybe the Orioles want to add one more arm at their starting rotation. Somebody is going to take your ace away, most likely.
Yeah, Garrett Crochet, the lone all-star for the White Sox. I think his time in Chicago is going to be short-lived. I don't see him staying too much longer after the All-Star break, honestly, especially if he puts on a little show down there in Arlington. That's all I have to say for the White Sox. 177 run differential. Do you imagine if it was half of that? How many more games they might win?
Yeah, tough to say, but how far away are they, too, from even being able to stick around a little bit?
That is true.
Just miles apart from any other team. Sell the team, move them to Shanghai. Absolutely pathetic baseball team.
Yes.
And we are through. That is all 30. The MLB Power Rankings here at the All-Star break. Hunter, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us. And man, let's do this again sometime soon.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. We'll get together soon here.
All right. This has been episode 19 of White Noise Sports with Tanner White. Thanks so much for sticking around for part 2, and thanks for joining us.
And that ball is stroked. Gone! Oh my goodness, on a frozen rope. Throw in there on one hop. Out! Oh, he hosed him. Hop steps, great dump off, and a two-hand jam.